All right, guys, it's been a year since this car has been on the ground. I bought this car, I think August of last year. So it's right about a year, and right away, I took it apart and threw it up on a rotisserie. So I've got a few videos, if you guys go back in my channel like a year ago, of this car, and to show you guys how it started out. It was green before. Let me flip it around. I'm gonna kind of go through everything and just show you guys what's all done so far. This is like big for me because this is like motivation. Once you get it back on the ground and it starts rolling on its own, especially with projects that take this long, like this is by far like my biggest build yet. I never took this long on my Mustangs. This one has definitely been a lot of work. So let me flip it around and we'll just go through it, and I'll give you guys kind of a rundown of everything. All right, so we got just recently what I did this weekend was finish up the rear suspension, okay? I did have the front coilovers on about 2-3 weeks ago, but it was still on jack stands and I was still working on all the rear end stuff. I wasn't like 100% sure if I wanted to do CV axles or try to rebuild the like the dog bones that come on these, which, they're not the best in the world. As I've heard they break and they make noise and all that. So I decided to go with the Milk Fab Engineering CV axle adapter kit. Okay, and I'll kind of go through it. You can kind of see it from up here since I don't have the cover in for the fuel cell. But yeah, you can see it's got CVs. And the adapter is right. Let's see if I can point to it. Right there is the adapter. It's an aluminum adapter that bolts to your flange and then bolts to the CV axles. They pretty much sell an entire kit. And yeah, you can see how the car is a little bit too low right now, I believe. So the CVs are kind of pointed up a little bit. But yeah, so everything runs really smooth. Painted all the arms, did all the bushings. What else? Yeah, I did the bushings here. Like basically the entire urethane bushing kit I've done. The coilovers, you can see, those are done, welded right there and right there. But yeah, the only bushings I didn't do was in the outside, I don't know what you call that. It's this right here. It's a bolt that's extremely hard to get out. And the reason I decided not to do it is because this car's actually got low miles. I think it only had like 70,000 miles on it. I'll have to check the odometer, but and it felt really good. It felt like there was no play in it whatsoever. There was no slop. It felt really good and smooth. So I figured, in the future, if I have to, I can replace those because I have the bushings. I just didn't pull those bolts out. You pretty much, when you do those, you pretty much got to just cut the bolt, break it out, or use like a puller, and it damages the bolt half the time and you got to replace it. So, but yeah, I mean, these Milk Fab Engineering brackets, they're really nice. I know there's a couple companies that make like a machined steel deal that you weld to your flange. I don't think those are really that good because when you CNC machine something, it's not going to be anywhere near as concentric as if you run something on a lathe. Okay, so those brackets are made on a lathe and they locate on the inside of the flange. I probably should have made a video and showed you guys how to do that, or show you how they work. But anyway, they kind of like, they locate on the inner flange and then they locate on the CV axle. Okay, so that means that there's a flange that it recesses in and then a flange that the CV axle goes into. That's going to be way more concentric than a milling machine can make a circle. Okay, so anyway, moving on to the wheels. I got the tires mounted. I went with some 215s, which I'm going to probably, once these wear out, I'm gonna probably change it to 205s, or I mean, I'm sorry, not 205s, 225s, and then go with the same up front. Like, I like the way these fit. They don't look too stretched, but these back here look a little bit stretched. So I went with 215s here and 205s here. This rim here is an inch wider than this one. These are 8s and these are 7s. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I won't know until we get the engine and all the, you know, the internal stuff in this car and get all the weight in it and the windshield and the doors and all that. That's going to add a lot of weight to this car, and I'm probably gonna have to raise it up because it already is sitting a little bit too low, I think. You can see how it's just, I mean, it's pretty well slammed. And I may do a spacer here because there's, you know, quite a bit of gap. And also the camber is off too. It's got way too much camber. So I'm gonna probably move the camber out a little bit and maybe add just a little spacer, maybe a 2 mil spacer there. And I think that'll give me the fitment I'm looking for. So it's just, for me, it's a little bit too tucked. You can see like the rim completely disappears. So I want it to be pretty much flush. So anyway, yeah, everything else looks really good. Probably the next thing, one of the things I wanted to do was get this thing rolling so that I could put my fuel cell in and know where to plumb lines, because I didn't want to put the fuel system in until I knew where all the moving parts are back here. So now that I know where everything is, I can start running fuel lines. So we can do that. And another reason why I wanted to get it rolling is so that I could roll it out of the garage and I could do more painting. Okay, because like I told you, I still have a lot of painting to do. I've got the hatch, I got the fenders, the cowl, the hood. I got the hood in storage. So we still have quite a bit to do. But yeah, I'm really happy to where we're at right now. I got the poly bushings on the steering rack, and still got the 2JZ motor mounts there. Got the polyurethane mounts on the sway bar. Painted everything, basically stripped and painted everything. I used that, I did a video maybe a couple months ago on that OSFO, rust inhibitor or eater. And I used that on all these parts, stripped them down, pressure washed them, and repainted it. Basically just used like some engine enamel that has the ceramic in it. It's pretty tough stuff, so hopefully it stays like that. I mean, it's gonna be better than what factory was, so yeah. And we got the poly bushings on the tension rods. So what I did do on these is, I've heard, some guy made a video and it kind of made sense to me that the poly bushings are a little bit hard for those tension rods, stock tension rods. So what ends up happening is you can break the bolt, and then this whole thing would start moving around, and you don't want that. So the tip is that you drill holes, okay? You take these out and you drill holes through it this way in both of the brackets, or I'm sorry, both of the bushings. And what it does is it really softens up the bushing to where it's not gonna be so hard on the bolt. So I went ahead and did that, and I think that should be okay. I mean, they were in good shape to begin with. They weren't rusted or anything, so they looked really good. I'm hoping they hold up, but if not, yeah, that wouldn't be good. So anyway, yeah, got a lot of work to do still, but like I said, this gives me a lot of motivation to move forward. I mean, the car is so light, I cannot even believe it. I mean, give it like just a little touch and it just starts rolling. I mean, it's super light. This car probably weighs right now 1,200 pounds. So let me roll it back in here. And also, it looks really good in the sun too. I haven't had this car out in the sun since I did all the cutting and buffing, and it's really dusty right now, as you can see, but man, out in the sun, it really looks good. So anyway, a lot more to do. We're gonna start, like I said, I'm gonna start priming all this stuff. I still gotta strip the fenders, do a little bit of rust repair on the end of that fender. and then get everything primed. And then once we get it primed, it's gonna be block and sand. Like, I'm much more of a mechanical guy. I love doing mechanical stuff because I see progress. Like, this took me a couple weeks to get, you know, all this mechanical stuff installed. And like, paint and body is a lot different. Like, you can do paint and body for 2 months and you might be ready for primer. You know, like, it's just, it is what it is if you want it to look right. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of wanted to give you guys an update, show you the car, show you that it rolls now. It's really too hot. Oh, it's my son's car here. It's really too hot to be doing any drag racing stuff. I mean, when the nights here in Florida are like 90 degrees, I mean, there's no point in going to the track. So I haven't been to the track in months. But eventually, when we start getting some cool fronts, we'll take this thing back out and see if we can improve on our times. I'm gonna do the no time shootout in October. So I'm definitely gonna do that. But other than that, I don't really have many plans right now for this car. So we're just gonna keep working on this thing. I'll start working on the motor. I've got a few things to do with the oil pan. I'm gonna clean that up, paint the oil pan, the bottom half, degrease it really good, get that installed. That's ready to go. And we need to find some valve covers for this thing. And I did get an intake. I really can't get over there right now, but it's one of those cheap side mount intakes. Let me see if I can get over there. I got this car really up against the side here. Yeah, so it's just one of these little canister intakes, and I'm gonna do a Bosch drive-by-wire throttle body. So when you do a drive-by-wire, you don't have to worry about like an idle air intake. You don't have to worry about that. And there's a lot of good things that come with that, and they're very affordable. I mean, you can get a drive-by-wire throttle body for like, I think like $130 or something like that, like a 76 or 80 millimeter. And then a pedal, I think they're like $80 for a pedal. And then we'll figure out a way to mount it on the floor there. And you just run some wires and that's it. And then that's another hole I can plug in the firewall, you know? So it'll just clean things up to have a nice, you know, clean setup to where you're not having a cable. Because if I ran a cable, it would have to be mounted on something or, you know, some kind of bracket to hold it. But with the drive-by-wire, you just run a couple wires up there and it's good to go. And you could do like there's a lot of other things you can do with drive-by-wire. You can do like, you can blip the throttle and stuff like that when you shift. There's a lot of different things you can do. But anyway, that's probably gonna do it for this video. I'm happy the way this is coming out. And yeah, hopefully we'll start making more progress on the other painting stuff. And yeah, get the windshield installed, get the dash installed, get steering column, and start wiring this thing. I'm gonna be ordering a wiring harness soon too, because I'm at the point now where the wiring harness can go in. So, and I'm gonna do all new wiring. I'm not gonna mess with any of the old Datsun wiring. I've seen a couple posts about these things catching on fire because of old wiring. The Datsun wiring is just awful the way they have it set up, and I'm not gonna even take that chance. So it's gonna get all new wiring, all new connectors, all Deutsch connectors. You can get Deutsch connectors on Amazon for pretty cheap, a whole bag of them for like $100. And we'll do all Deutsch connectors on like this stuff here. See this old connector? I'll remove this and put a Deutsch connector there, you know, over here, here too, like all this stuff that's just, you know, it's really dated. So anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Check you all later.